Okay, so we added in we added in a single send track so that we can send our bass to it and get some sort of distortion in that sort of low range. So we're going to add another one now. So we go to insert return track and we'll call this one bass 2. And if we go to our bass group and we'll send full amount again, we'll turn it to premixer. Okay, so this time we're going to focus on the sort of highs. So we'll go to our auto filter, drop that in, we'll go for a high pass. And we're going to do a nice big Q curve as well to get some resonance out of it. We'll drop in a redux. And then we'll drop in some compression onto there at the end as well. Just to keep the sort of peaks under control. So as soon as you start getting a wee bit of gain reduction, we'll have a listen to that with the bass. So it's starting to sound a lot beefier now. So it's really easy to change the tone of your bass by just tweaking just one individual element. So I'm going to leave that one as it is actually, and we'll go to return track and we'll add in another one. So we'll call it bass 3. Change it to premixer and we'll send the full amount. And for this one we'll go for the mid range, so we'll add a nice sort of crispy, crunchy mid. So let's see, we'll go for our EQ and we'll go for a high pass and a low pass. And we'll rein those in a bit as well. And let's do a wee boost in the mids as well. Okay, so I'm going to drop in a saturator, and we'll go for the wave shaper on the saturator because it's quite a good sort of a saturation mode to use to get a real unique sound to it. So we'll go for our wave shaper and we'll turn a color on. I'm just going to play around with the controls until I get something that sounds good. Well, not what it's hard to explain. I think there was a post recently Phil had put up in the forums as to what exactly does sounding good mean, but listening to the other two basses at the same time, you'll be able to hear what does sound good. Because it'll fill out that sort of mid range. So I'm going to push up our depth, and I'll bring our drive back a touch, and then if I bring the linearity back as well. So the sort of explanations of these individual parameters on the wave shaper, it's more, I would say, play about with them, until you hear what each of them does. They each add their own sort of element of distortion to it. And as I said before, a little distortion a lot of the time. So we're just going to push our drive to about halfway or so. Bring the drive back a touch as well, maybe. And then I'm going to bring the dry wet back as well. As I say, just to add a touch of distortion and not much more. And then I'm going to drop in a chorus effect in here as well. And again, bring our dry wet back so that it's just adding a touch. Okay, so I think we need to add a bit more distortion to this just to sort of bring it out. So I'm going to go for a redux. And then we'll maybe add something a bit more fancy. We'll go for a grain delay and we'll play around with that a wee bit. So we want to bring a dry wet back because we don't want it too obvious. We'll push our feedback up. I'm going to just bring the time down as well. Get rid of that sync mode. Just so we get a kind of almost like a room reverb. Again, as I say, you don't need to be doing the exact same thing I'm doing here. There's no reason why you couldn't have that time way up. I'm going to leave it like that, so it's almost like a reverb. And then I'm going to add in some overdrive. And this is where you can really thicken out the sort of mid ranges. So if we really sort of push this over the top. So that's really bringing out the mids now. I'll have a listen to that with the other. So that's it without. Sounds pretty good. So we'll drop in a limiter as well just to control this a bit. And then we'll drop in a compressor as well, just to add a touch more control with the whole sidechain compression thing. So we'll grab our drums and our kick drum. And we'll just push the ratio up. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with that. So what we just added there is that sort of high mid or sort of high range there, and then the real crunchy mid range. Again, you don't have to follow the exact same thing that I'm doing here, and you don't have to add the same effects. I'm literally just dropping them in and sort of moving the parts about until they get a nice kind of distortion sound in the sort of frequency band that I'm looking at. So we'll add in our last distortion one in the next video then.